I don't know what's going on over there in the Kory Woods household, but he looks great. And he's joining us remotely right after a haircut, and I respect him for it. Kory Woods. Kory, how are we doing?
Yo, what's the deal, man?
Hey, look, we appreciate you joining, Kory. I do want to ask, because we talked about this before you joined.
Oh, wait a minute, real quick. My face ain't ashy. That's all. That's just, the ash line from the barber. So I gotta go get some moisturizer. I don't want nobody out here thinking like, oh, damn, he jumped in there without no lotion on. No, just the barber.
Yeah, I respect. You need to clarify that. I respect it, Kory. I get it. No worries. I want to ask. We looked at this injury report earlier in the show, and there's you see Sam Laporta on there. He didn't practice. Yeah. Kirby Joseph didn't practice. Darren Arnold didn't practice. Some of the guys are obviously returning, which is good news. And you can get your thoughts on that in a little bit here with Davenport and so forth. But the Sam Laporta thing kind of popped up out of nowhere. What's kind of your confidence that the guys that did not practice, Sam Laporta, Kirby, and TA, what's your confidence that you'll see one of the three or all three or zero of the three this week against the Eagles?
I haven't heard anything about Sam in the days leading up to today, so that is something we'll probably address with Dan Campbell tomorrow. I don't know. It might be nothing. We haven't heard anything about Sam popping up. Terrion, I know I believe he's still in the protocol, so that's an iffy one. But Kirby, I'm probably leaning towards where the Lions being without Kirby another week, just off the fact that you want Kirby for the long haul.
Right.
And even though this is going to be a tough game against the Eagles, I just don't see them throwing Kirby out there right about now with the way that his knee has been. We do see him around practice. I mean, he was actually out there jogging on the field when we had the viewing period. Out there talking to the guys, giving them I guess you could say, words of affirmation, so to say, boosting them up. But I would be shocked if we see Kirby this game. But you never know. These guys, big game. This is a game that could have major playoff implications down the line. So you never know. But the one person I would really be shocked of all of them to play would be Terry, just because of the concussion.
Yeah, Kory, I do want to ask, we haven't actually talked to you and gotten your thoughts on since Dan Campbell took over play calling on Sunday. We'd love to get your thoughts on him, kind of the play calling and what that looked like and moving forward with Dan. And also, I know John Morton spoke to the media today, and your thoughts on how John Morton actually handled that today as well, because it felt like he handled that in probably one of the most professional ways you could have as someone who essentially got demoted in his position.
Well, I'll handle the first one first about Dan Campbell taking over the play calling. It is something that me and Ben were talking about on the Dungeon of Doom podcast. We said that I said, hey, give him about maybe 1 or 2 more games to see how this looks, see how it looks against the Commanders, and then see how it looks against the Eagles, and then go from there. If it still looks stagnant, then you might have to go ahead and pull a move like you did last time with Anthony Lynn. Obviously, we see that Dan said, no, I'm going to go ahead and do this right now, and he removed the play calling duties from John Morton. And to me, it looked a little bit more like it was more up tempo, more life, more sense of urgency. You got to see more of David Montgomery and Jameson Williams involved often and early, something that I was really critical about with John Morton, because one thing that Ben Johnson did really well was he knew how to flip Gibbs and Montgomery on the same drive, something that I did not see Morton do too well. And the thing about it is Dan Campbell is an offensive guy at heart. I mean, this is a guy that learned under Sean Payton, learned under Bill Parcells. I know people see the speeches from the outside media, and they see the speeches, they see the bravado, the machismo, and think that he's just a meathead or something like that. But Dan Campbell is a very offensive-minded person. I think that Ben said he thought he enjoyed making the play calls. I'm kind of circling back around to that, because you just see how the players were responding. After the game, I was in the locker room. Everything you heard was ran smoothly. Chemistry was there. So I think Dan Campbell taking over the play calling is what was needed, at least for that game. We're going to see how it looks this week against Philly. If it continues to look this way, I mean, hey, Dan may have turned the season around. When it comes to John Morton and how he handled it, I mean, I would say this. I thought what I heard from him was a lot better than what we heard from Anthony Lynn around that same time. And John Morton handled it as best as possible. I mean, in the position that he's in. I mean, he said that he's still helping Dan out from the week of, as far as getting the the game plan installed, but on the days of the game, it's going to be, Dan running the show. So I think that, he did as much as he could to save face in a very difficult position.
I've interrupted the show to tell you about our friends over at Sleeper, and specifically Sleeper Picks, which Lions play the Eagles for Sunday Night Football. And I have my picks. If your state allows it, you should be utilizing it. It's very simple. You choose 2 to 8 of your favorite players on Sleeper from pregame, live, or across different sports. Pick more or less than the predicted stats. And on Sleeper, you can get up to 1,000x payouts. Share with your friends. Get rewarded together. The picks I decided to go with for Lions Eagles, I have more Jared Goff, 1.5 passing touchdowns, more Jahmyr Gibbs, 0.5 touchdowns, more Saquon Barkley, 0.5 touchdowns, and more Devonta Smith receiving yards. Come play along. Shout out to Sleeper for sponsoring the show as always. Yeah, Kory, the question that was asked this week to Dan I thought was very fair was just about the defensive line. And I know Aiden didn't have his best game against the Commanders, but when you look at this D-line, they're last in the NFL in pass rush win rate, which, again, that could be they're up there in sacks, so it depends how you look at it. Marcus Davenport coming back, Josh Pascal coming back. What have you seen from this defensive line the last couple of weeks? I know AQM's kind of taken a little bit of a dip just in terms of winning one-on-ones, and Dan talked about it. They need people besides Hutch to win them. And then what does Marcus and Josh kind of help out on that defensive line? What do they bring to the table that you're excited to see?
Well, the one thing that we have seen a slight dip in is, with the interior, with the against the run, when with Aleem coming back and Talik having his snap count reduced. That is one thing we've seen, but also, to kind of go against that, Roy Lopez has stepped up as of recently, so you got to give him credit for what he's done. I believe when you're able to go ahead and mix Josh Pascal and Marcus Davenport into this rotation, along with Aiden Hutchinson and Al-Quadin Muhammad, we might start, if they're able to stay healthy, we might start to see why Dan Campbell said, hey, we're good. Because right now, I believe they're still 4th in the league in sacks. So, I mean, that is not something that people predicted when they didn't have, when they didn't bring back Zadarius Smith to pair with Aiden Hutchinson. So I think right now, just being able to get some of those guys back out there and kind of get Aleem's legs back up under him, find out a way to get Talik more involved. I think they're going to be fine for the long haul in that regard.
What do you think, Kory, about Malcolm Rodriguez and his role? Have you guys had that conversation, like even with media members, about how you guys feel like that role of Malcolm's going to be when he comes back? Because that is a deep linebacker room, and he obviously, we know the level he could play at a starter level if we need him, if they need him to. But how do you think the snaps with the guy like Rodrigo coming back? And it sounds like potentially this week was the goal for him. Do you see him getting a lot of snaps and kind of working into that?
I can see him getting some snaps on special teams, most definitely, because that is an area where they've been struggling, for sure. And I could definitely see him getting some more snaps. I don't think they will rush him back out there totally. I think they might put him on the pitch count, but then again, I thought they were going to do that with Lee McNeil. He ended up playing double the snaps that Dan anticipated for him. So I think it just all goes on the flow of the game, how he's playing, how he's looking out there. But Rodrigo is a guy that Kelvin Shepherd has been very high on since his rookie year. And as you just said, when they've needed him to go out there and perform in spots, he's done exactly just that. And it's curious to see how he's going to look recovering from that injury. But I think we might see him. If I had to guess, I could probably see him playing no more than 20 snaps if they go ahead and roll him out this week.
Well, Kory, I'll get your thoughts on this game before we get you out of here. Just this Eagles matchup, it's massive. They're relatively healthy. I know they've been dealing with some problems with A.J. Brown, not getting him the football. But what does this game this weekend kind of mean to you? How much of a statement game is it? And what do you expect out of the Lions this week? And kind of your evaluation of how the Eagles have looked? Because I know people are down on them as well.
I think this is going to be a high-scoring game. I believe that the Lions do have a good chance to win this game, just off of the way that their offense is looking now with Dan Campbell calling the shots. They're getting some of their pieces back on defense. As you said, right now, the Eagles' offense is in flux internally, but some of the issues they have going on, their run game has not been great. I mean, Saquon Barkley is averaging under 4 yards per carry so far, and it's just for some reason they still manage to win games as we see right now with their record. But I just think that they have not played a team like the Lions that could be the perfect storm for them to go ahead and drop a game. I have this being somewhat similar to their 2022 game, 38-35, but this time it's going to be the Lions. I think the real key for them to be successful in this game is to not let Jalen Hurts get off the script and get outside of that pocket, which something that Hutch talked about yesterday. So as long as they're able to contain him and keep that run game going, I think they'll be just fine.
There you go. Kory, we appreciate that.
Can I?
Oh, no. Yeah, go ahead.
I just wanted to ask, Kory, I just want to get your confidence real quick just on the like in your thoughts on the line offensive line play with Graham. I know he's kind of had that back injury. Taylor Decker kind of coming back from the injury. Yodi there at the left tackle. What are your thoughts on the whole offensive line play going into a week like this?
I think I'm more confident now that Dan Campbell is calling the plays, because if you look at each of their 3 losses, there has been one consistent theme: communication issues. Dan has said that in each of their losses, there's been some level of communication issues. With Dan being on the sideline and being directly in the mix of things and then being able to hold these guys accountable as soon as they come off the sidelines and do real in-time corrections as opposed to, phoning down from the headset or whatnot, I believe that this is just what this team needs for them to be successful. It might work, having your play caller in the booth might work for some other teams. Just for this team, I don't think that works. So I think with Dan being out there, being able to make those corrections in real time and those adjustments, I think that the offensive line play is going to be just as good as it was last week. I mean, Goff took a hit or two there, but he didn't take any sacks, and he was played relatively clean. Eagles, they haven't really been able to get to the quarterback that much. I will say this though, Jalen Phillips did look good on Monday night.
Oh,
So
yeah, he
there,
did.
there's that. So you want to go ahead and make sure he doesn't get off. But I think with Dan out there, they'll be fine.
Love it. Kory, we appreciate you joining even remotely. You guys can follow Kory at Kory E. Woods on X, covers the Detroit Lions from live.com. We'll talk to you soon, my friend.
Peace.
There you go.
See you, Kory.
Woods joining us, talking some Lions football. Hey, what's going on there? It's Jeff Iafrate. Appreciate you for finishing the video. You can check out one of the videos here suggested or show support by commenting, liking, and subscribing. And buy your merchandise, officialctsports.com.